the idea of telling better stories.
Oh, okay.
You know, as a natural consequence of how much bullshit information is coming to us that is really draining our energy. Like, let's tell each other stories. Let's tell ourselves stories, which is to say, let's be in realities that are uplifting. You know what I mean? Let's have those uplifting conversations with ourselves and one another and our loved ones, like, as a priority.
When you least expect it, or even when you do expect it, things turn out better than you thought they would, better than you assumed or could have imagined. All situations lead to your highest good. Everyone you encounter can see your light, whether you realize it or not. And even when you're feeling it or not, it's just a part of your base vibration and who you are. I speak focus into the areas that you want to expand in your life, in your mind, in your environment. I speak inspiration coming from unexpected sources, people, and places. Signs and symbols landing in your path to remind you that you got this. You're loved. You're appreciated. Great things always come to you because you put out great things. Loving energy, kindness, attention, care to the people in your life. So thank you. I speak it over you, over your life, that you find everything that you need in today and in the next day and for the rest of your life. That you can just feel open and receive all the love that's coming at you from all the different angles.
Shall we dive into a little grounding meditation?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, just inviting us back into the moment, feeling into the body, coming back to noticing our natural patterns of breathing. If you're feeling any tension, maybe making any micro adjustments needed to feel nice and flowing. Allow that nice, steady, smooth breath. Noticing the inhale and perhaps holding the breath at the top of the inhale for a couple beats. Enjoying that fullness before releasing. Ideally drawing the air all the way into the belly. And noticing that gap of emptiness before drawing in the next inhale. Just noticing the universe experiencing itself in this moment. Sometimes it can be helpful to imagine extending a line of energy down past the spine, through the carpet, through the house, through the soles of our shoes, whatever it is we're vibing with at the moment. And seeing that extension of energy going all the way through to the center of the earth. Feeling grounded with that anchor, that energetic anchor. And extending a line of energy up through the spine, out the crown, into the ether as well. Extending in all directions. Got a phone call from the aliens, these two mugs.
Yeah.
Banging into each other over there. Ooh, just gonna call in the intention of clear communication, listening deeply, speaking with clarity and coming back to this presence and noticing from the inside out as often as we can remember to do so in this conversation and for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week. And yeah, thanks for joining me here, Alan. Appreciate you coming into the space.
Glad to be
the lounge, as I like to refer to as part of the room. It's part of the house.
It's very cozy.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
a little fireplace.
Got the little heater going. My sister gave me this this little dragonfly mushroom. Little dealio there. So got that on display.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dragonflies have been.
Looks like an old, like a very textured piece of wood.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
in,
I haven't examined it too deeply, but you're right.
something that was kind of naturally fungified and kind of eaten away, and
Yeah,
that's where there's like incredible
right.
textures. Like
Yeah.
so look out your window at the winter bleakness. Nothing repeats.
right.
Endless texture,
Right.
endless variety. When my kids were little, we used to go out in the woods, and every stick, and I'm still that way. I do it by myself. Everything is different. And it's just a cacophony comes to mind, but that's a
Yeah.
harsh word.
I like that word now.
A potpourri of
Yeah.
difference of textures,
Right.
textures, shades.
Yeah. Fractal soup, if you will.
Yeah,
Stew.
50 shades of gray, but without that's an awful connotation. But,
These days, I guess it is with the book and everything. You know.
but 50 Shades of Grey is great before the book came along.
Yeah. What was
And
the
the book, too,
connotation
if you're-
before the? What was that
Oh,
phrase?
no.
Kind of. What was your initial relationship to that phrase?
Just as descriptive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
There's no
The
such thing as
contours.
just gray.
Yeah, got it.
If
Got
you're
it.
walking around in winter, like right now, and you look closely, there's gray is 50 different shades,
I see what you
50
mean.
different tints.
Gotcha. I feel like I didn't really hear that phrase too much before the book came out.
No,
so that was like
I
my
didn't either.
my initial connotation to it. But yeah, you said you're coming from some activity today, some going to the gym and
Yeah, I just got back
all
from the
that.
gym.
Yeah, feeling good.
Yeah. I discovered Pilates a week ago, dove in, have been doing Pilates every day. And then I follow with the swim, and I swim for an hour.
Okay,
And
nice.
Then I get in the cold plunge.
Gotcha.
But right now, it just is like a cool drink of water. It's just like, oh, this is yay. And I'm a yoga guy. I've been a yoga guy. In yoga, I'd always have to be careful not to hurt myself because at least in yoga, the way it's commonly taught in the West, it tends to emphasize range of motion.
Yeah.
And a lot of pressure on the ends of your ranges. And Pilates, it's like, unless you fall off the machine, which you're probably not going to do, you really can't hurt yourself.
Okay.
You can get so tired, or you may have to set the spring on a lower intensity, but you're not going to overdo it.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
that's such a it's just working my head. It's just
Gotcha.
like, wow.
Good. I feel like movement and specifically I've been going to the gym doing light stuff because I was dealing with, I ended up getting a hernia repair surgery last summer. So I was kind of nursing that all last year. But I'm still going to the gym, not lifting, but trying to do some cardio and stretching and going to the sauna. There's no cold plunge at the place I've been going to, unfortunately. But it's been just like a saving grace throughout all last year. And I feel like now that it's winter again, it's just like,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting that heat, that internal heat. And
Yeah.
it just feels like a life raft for surviving the winter.
Cool.
Just keeping things fluid, keeping things moving, keeping things flowing. So yeah, I've finally caught that train. So I don't know, man, like for most of my life, I've been pretty sedentary lifestyle, you know, like I was not really an athlete for too long.
Okay.
Like I played all the sports as a really young kid, but I was like, once I got into music, I was like, I'm good on the sports, you know, I'd rather do the collaborative expression than I felt like sports when I was younger, it felt kind of like a domineering, expression of prowess, or like.
Was that kind of the culture at your school? Like, were you?
A bit, yeah.
Okay, kind of classic
it wasn't,
jocks thing.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't super overblown or anything. Like, but that was kind of my estimation of it. I didn't really appreciate the competitive nature of it because I think I saw the nasty sides of competition rather than the more like silver lining, which is just pushing yourself to your limit and like working on a team. Like now I can see the positive aspects of sports and athleticism for sure. But for most of life, I was just like, it's not for me. It's just not my interest. And now, getting into my third decade, it's like, no, we got to move this body if we want it to keep moving. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm glad I'm finally tuning into that. Has activity and movement practices always been a thing for you?
Yeah, definitely.
For the most part, yeah, cool.
But that's, I'll circle back around to that. But that's interesting how our formative exposure really can tint things.
Absolutely.
Because we sort of inhabit our experience when we're little. And then we're littler, younger. And then as we get older and get more perspective and experience, then we can revisit some of those earlier initial formative experiences and fill them out some. Yeah. Which is what you kind of just described with your initial exposure to sports, and then your more recent appreciation which has come to you since then of the positive side of it.
And mostly in like an individualist approach in that way for me personally on that topic, because I could probably fill out my experience more in like engaging with sports, but from a different energy. I think the last time I really like did anything playing a sport was like maybe my sister's high school graduation several years ago. We had like a family soccer game, and that was fun, like just the no pressure of it. Just you're just having fun with your family. It wasn't a team. It wasn't a league or something. Whatever. All the extra things.
It's very just largely about being together and moving your bodies rather than
being the best.
Than winning. Yeah.
So I could lean more into sports, but just literally just getting the body moving. And I mean, yoga's been something that I've appreciated and practiced off and on for a good decade or so. But even that I could use, I'm coming back to it. I'm finding myself, stretching at least daily, starting to integrate it into my morning routine more so. Just a bit of yin yoga and things like that. But even that has been wavering. I don't know. It is. Yeah.
If it's a burden, if it's something extra that, oh my God, it's good. It's another like, God damn, it's good for me.
What a burden. It's helpful.
And if you could find a way to make the activity attractive rather than another darn thing I should do, another should.
Right.
Then it's much more sustainable.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case, it seems. It's just the irony of even knowing something that I enjoy doing, even though it requires motivation, right? Just to like integrate that into a routine that lasts more than a month or something. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
It's just it's interesting because like you said, even with Pilates, like you feel like, refreshed afterwards. It takes energy, like it takes motivation to go do that. You might get rewarded by the, dopamine reward, but it's like we could get that reward with such easier things, picking up the phone or, other things that we get distracted by. So it's, I'm curious, do you have any like, has there been a way to like integrate that for you that's been helpful to like really feel the positivity of devoting to a practice? Not having to feel like a chore?
So you're a musician, and I've come to music like late in my life.
Okay, yeah.
Like I was around 60 before I did my first festival. I'm 64 now, so it's just 4 years ago. It's some of this stuff just arrives when it arrives.
Yeah.
And Yeah.
And just to appreciate it when it does arrive. Open the door when it arrives and not put it off, hit the snooze for another month or year or something.
And the reason I bring up music is because you were drawn to music all your life, right?
Most of it, yeah.
So it just happened naturally. You don't need, your experience of music is probably like my experience of a lot of times going to the gym. We're like, oh fuck, I can't wait. And that's how I am now with Pilates. It's like, oh, this is delicious. Probably like you doing music and playing a set or whatever.
Yeah, I bet.
You don't have to, it's not a thing you have to, it's not a should. It's like you're a moth to that flame. Thank goodness the flame doesn't kill you, because you'd be in trouble.
Yeah. There's nuance to it too. I agree with you. That is true. Like even last night, we had the going away party for our friend Marielle and everything. And the trio, Jacob, Brian, and myself played a little set. There was somewhat of a nervousness of doing that. But then I was like, dude, this isn't even like a show. It's not even really a gig. It's a party.
Yeah.
Like we're just going to show a bit of what we got. It doesn't have to be a big jam band set where we've got all the transitions, like mapped out and the whole big thing or anything, which the three of us are trying to want to go in that direction. Okay. So that was a bit of the mental consideration there. Okay. And Jacob wanted to get an extra rehearsal in and we weren't really able to do that, blah, blah, blah. So I guess that had me kind of questioning how prepared are we? So to like bring it back to what you're saying, the oh great, we get to do this versus the work involved. Like it is both.
It's work
for performing music because the rehearsal part of it.
Watching you guys from the outside and lugging the equipment around. And,
that too. Yeah.
Okay. So that
too. Okay, but the rehearsal of like preparation of do we know our material well enough. And I've been playing a lot solo the last few years. So I have hours of material, like pretty locked and loaded for myself. Okay. But for me, the task is to get the other guys as familiar, you know what I mean? And so that takes time and attention. And sometimes that is not necessarily oh, cool, I get to, you know what I mean? Getting schedules aligned and actually putting the effort into it. Yeah. That part can feel like, somewhat of a chore to get it started, but then whenever we're in there and we're doing the thing, like it's always flowing and it's always fun. You know what I mean? Even when it's challenging, it's like, wow, I get to make music. I get to strive towards like getting better at something that really is like a fun field. Okay. You know what I mean? It's music. Yeah. It's expressive. It's fun. But anyway, just to represent both of those sides, there's the ease of it, but there's also, the legwork that goes into being able to pull those things off, because when it's just me, I can just rely on myself. But when I got a bassist or someone playing keyboard or something, we all need to know the same chords that we're going through here, So to like share that musical language, and it's like a relationship, you know what I mean? It just takes communication, getting on the same page, all that stuff. Yeah.
And you've got all those relationship considerations like vision, commitment, ability, that plex has to sort of, like relationship, you're playing Tetris.
Yeah, absolutely.
With live organisms.
Absolutely. Yeah. And with a band or a team of any sort, it could be a business team. It could be, whatever it is. Yeah. Roommates, whatever, like just individuals deciding to do something together. All three of those things really need to be considered, the vision, what's our intention, our capacity. You said ability for musical terms, but like capability and capacity for how much time and energy do I have to make this vision happen. What was the third one you said?
Let's see, vision, capacity, and commitment.
Yeah, commitment, right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's just so crucial. And I've been saying that a lot for bands, where how integral it is to really like discuss vision, because I've been in, throughout my 20s, I was playing a lot of bass guitar because bands need bassists. Oh, okay. So I was in a handful of bands and like just seeing what ended those groups each time, and trying to learn from that. And one of the recurring themes was sort of just not talking things through in the beginning.
Okay.
Not really getting on the same page as far as those exact three things you mentioned. Well, particularly the two of vision and commitment.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and with romantic relationships, similar thing, you know, like what do people really want out of this dance? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that level of communication is so crucial. So crucial.
Yeah.
You brought up going to festivals. That was something I wanted to ask you, actually, because we met briefly at Good People, Good Times just this summer. Yeah. And I've seen you at shows and stuff, and you're an inspiration, like the way that you can just embody joy, you know. What got you into the festival scene? Just recently.
I think COVID.
Oh, okay.
Formed a pod, and retirement. So I was a freshman English teacher. I taught the freshman writing classes at UC and another local college, Chatfield.
Gotcha.
And I was able to retire a little early. And so I had time in my hands. And then COVID hit, and formed a social pod with some of my neighbors who were a lot younger, Sydney, including Sydney. And that's how I got introduced to festivals.
Okay, gotcha. It was through Sydney.
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't know that.
My first festival was Summer Dance, like maybe probably 4 years ago now or so.
Okay, gotcha.
With Sydney.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Summer Dance was one of my favorites pre-COVID. I think I went 18, 19.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then haven't been for a few years until this past one. I was at this last Summer Dance. Yeah. Okay. Were you there?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it was a good one.
It rained like heck the first night.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it was an early night.
I was like a drowned cat.
Yeah.
I was out there, though.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I was just thinking about that the other day, because it's like those little unexpected moments at festivals. And you're someone to talk to about this, because I see you as like a very individual, so like happy to be on your own and like make friends with strangers and things like that. Maybe that's just the way I'm posturing you in my mind. You can speak on that. But when it started like really raining, I think it was during Pigeon's set, had a bit of a downpour, and I think my friends went to their home base to get something or other, and then downpour. So I like, oh no, actually I was dancing. We were all dancing down at the stage, and it was like, oh, a little bit of rain, no big deal. And then it just really starts coming down. I'm like, okay, I need to either like, am I gonna be soaked, or am I gonna try to wait it out? And I like went to one of the vendors, a few of the vendors, and I was like chatting with the vendors, whatever. But then I was in one where there was like a bunch of people like trying to stay dry from the rain. It was just like, you know, like I'm feeling open, you know, to meeting people or whatever, like having casual conversation, but it was like nothing was really landing. So I just kind of felt like I was like wandering by myself in like this random tent with random people, and just like, all right, am I just gonna watch the music from here? Like, what am I really getting into right now? What's your experience with that, when like you feel like you tap into that easily? Yeah.
As long as someone's not holding a knife to my neck, I'm like, I feel
as long as there's not actual tension.
Charitable.
Yeah, right.
And it's nice being older, because I think people just sort of, most people are I'm kind of harmless. I'm an older guy, like, and so I probably bypass a lot of the who's attracted to me, who's not, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't really experience much of that at a festival, because everyone's so much younger.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I haven't thought too much about that, but yeah. Words could be formulated to describe that, but that does make sense. A certain level of like grace. That's sort of
it is a bit of grace.
Yeah, I get that.
And then occasionally you run into people who have who from somewhere have gotten like a kind of pejorative sense of older people, and they'll sort of push me around like I don't belong to be there and stuff. And I just kind of hold my ground, and usually it goes away. But you've come up to that more than once? Pretty regularly. Really? Yeah, not super frequently, but regularly. Okay. Yeah. That's a little disheartening. And sometimes it'll be like young women who just want my spot because I'm near the rail or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
So it could be a mix of things.
Yeah.
But they're both about sort of discounting age, me because I'm older.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
But I usually by now it's kind of a staple of the scene for me. Like it'll happen every now and then, and I'll just like stand my ground and sort of like, okay, this is what's going on.
Yeah. And they're on their trip. Yeah. All we can do is take care of ourselves. We got a right to be here, type thing.
Yeah.
What's been your general excitement with going to festivals? What do you feel like you get out of it?
Dancing.
It's the dancing.
Just the music.
Yeah.
And you've seen me dance. So
Yeah.
And I like the different states of consciousness that I have been introduced to that. And
Gotcha. Through festivals, or were you experienced in other times of your life?
That also came to me. I came to that really late.
Okay.
I just again, I remember it was the age 58. I'm like, I wonder what psychedelics are about.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a book. I got Poland.
Oh yeah.
How to Change Your Mind.
Right.
And I read it, and I kind of researched it for 6 months, kind of like researching sex. Like, what's this about? If you've never had it, as an adult. And then I had a friend who I trusted, and I started having experiences.
Gotcha.
And then the festivals came soon after, within a year or two after that.
Okay. Cool. What got you interested to search that? You didn't just come across that book. That was
right. No, the
hearing certain people.
But yes
speak
and
of
no,
it,
because sometimes like when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. Mm-hmm. So the book did kind of appear.
Okay.
When I was,
and that was not a total introduction to the idea, but that was sort of the introduction to your excitement around it, or.
I just hadn't given it much thought over
Gotcha.
A pretty straight edge.
Gotcha.
Until, well, I don't know if I'm not straight edge now, but not quite a straight edge.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting how psychedelics get, what do I mean to say? Like clumped into a category of things that are very unlike psychedelics that are sort of demonized. There's a taboo around, illicit substances and things like that, I think it's not like doing, much harder stimulants or something like that. Like psychedelics really, they are in their own category, but for people that aren't really well versed on what the different categories truly mean, a lot of times people just clump it all together as drugs or something, and.
Oh my God, I love festival culture. I mean, I hope I'm not. If I'm being offensive, please correct me at some point, but hippie culture, just the generosity, the goodwill, the love, that you see at a festival, that's been my experience there. It's like, oh my God. Because for me, that's another big draw of festivals, just the temporary community. I just got exposed to a book that The Kin of Ata Are Waiting.
Yeah.
And it by Dorothy Parker, I want to say. I may be butchering the name.
Yeah. I read that a few years ago. It's really good.
But that the utopian, the little tribal culture she describes in that book sort of is a kind of a culture of perfect love and mutual caring. And it's, and I just read it. Like I just came up, Sarah told me about the book just a couple months ago.
You finished it?
Yeah. I haven't. I haven't. I sort of got a lot of times I'll read a book and I'll kind of get the idea and then I'll lose interest or get the idea. But I'm through most of it. It's pretty short.
Yeah, it is pretty short. Yeah. Highly encourage you to finish.
It?
Yeah, because it's got a interesting ending.
Okay.
I think that was one of the parts I enjoyed the most was the ending.
The ending. Okay.
Yeah.
But festivals sort of embody, or the closest group experience, communal experience, like real life experience for me. Like they're enough in that direction I feel like I'm getting a taste.
Yeah.
Of Kinevata, like
It's in that direction. Yeah.
so that I can understand the book. Like if I hadn't been to festivals, I probably wouldn't even be interested in the book because I probably wouldn't even find it relatable.
Interesting.
Festivals
Yeah.
have been big for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't even really correlated them in my mind too much, but I could see why you would, for sure. You know, my perspective on festivals, I think, I mean, I've been going to them for a good 10 years or so. Not too deeply. Like, I'm not going to more than a few a year these days. It's not like I travel far and wide and spend my whole summer at festivals or anything like that. But I've been to a good amount. So I feel like maybe I've started to see a bit of a shadow aspect to it too. Whereas at first, my first few experiences with it, it was like, oh wow, this is really such a beautiful gathering of beautiful people, like enjoying the community aspect of. Don't you think that's really like what people get so excited by, is just like-minded people expressing like a freedom of expression. Right.
Yeah, I do.
Whether it's the dancing or dressing in a different way that you might not. Yeah. It's like a no shame zone for the most part, you know. Of course you're gonna have your zany characters that might not be on that vibe of pure acceptance, because how could you? You know, we're all coming from this like fractured society, right? So people are going to come with some hangups.
But it's so much better than, you know, it's like, of course it's imperfect, but it's so much, to me, it's so much better than in those regards than to
never experience that type of thing at all, really, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of an environment to practice something different.
Yeah.
You know, even just to, like I said, a lot of people experience psychedelics. So in that way, it's a practice of like mental expansion. And in that way, like an emotional expansion of maybe questioning some of our beliefs or questioning some of our assumptions.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. They do different. Yeah. Right. That's the thing. It's like, it's real easy for me to project my experience of psychedelics, whatever the heck it is. And, you know, it's very, I like it a lot, onto, and to forget that there are people who, people encounter them, experience them in some significantly different ways. And,
totally.
And I tend to forget that and just be like, oh my God, and remember my experience of them.
Yes. Same. Yeah. Right. 'Cause, you know, I will never really truly know what it's like to be someone else, and it's easy for me to want to evangelize medicines that have been helpful for me, things that have been medicine for me, right? But like coming back to the idea of like medicine, the difference between medicine and poison is the dosage, right?
The dosage
is different depending on what your ailment is, where you're vibing at.
Right.
The tiniest bit might be poison, you know? Or a big bit that for someone else would be poison, that may be actually what another person needs.
Right.
So that like relativity of it.
Right.
I think a lot of people aren't really well versed in that level of relativity. I think we kind of think in homogenized terms, that very black and white thinking.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh no, this is good.
I think you're right. And for those of us for whom it's been a big benefit, it's so, you know, it's real maturity to stay off the evangelism wagon.
Yeah.
It is. Because
it's easy to get into that like sophomoric mentality of like, I've seen a little bit, now I think I know it all.
Yeah.
You know,
and everybody should do.
Yeah. It's an easy one. But that's not to say that that those paths aren't worth traversing for sure. I think there's a lot to find.
Yeah.
And I don't, I spoke a bit about like a shadow aspect of it. And, I don't want to go too deep into that because it's not a huge part of my mythology or the way that I relate to festivals. But, in some ways I've been a little bit
Same, but just
disenchanted.
Not to, Oh, have you?
Not in a
Okay.
extreme way, but just from like kind of getting out of that sophomoric sort of perspective of like, oh wow, this is the new best thing.
Right.
Now it's like, okay, no, I see that some people really do show up just to party. Some people show up to take advantage. At times, it's not necessarily what I'm attracting, but
you see it.
Yeah. I'm just, I don't know, ways that it's not. It's not outside of capitalism. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like a recess or a vacation from the way that we operate in normal society, but it's not that different. And just seeing the ways that it can commodify that need for community. Almost take advantage of that in a certain sense.
Okay, all right.
Not from a nefarious place, hopefully.
No, I'm listening.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just noticing those aspects of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that it can lead people to different types of gatherings, like rainbow gathering or things like that. Are you aware of what that is? Rainbow.
I've
not gone, so I really can't speak on it, but
I've not gone either.
Yeah. I know that's kind of an example of something functioning differently, where it is really just the people that show up or taking care of one another. It's not capitalist in the way that it's not an exchange of money for goods or whatever. It's like everyone builds the kitchens and whatever is being offered is kind of like brought and created there and shared in a different type of society. That you bring up Kenavada, like it was not a capitalist society at all, right?
No.
Like a very different way of existing. So when I read that book, I wasn't necessarily immediately like thinking or correlating it to festival culture, but more so like my imagination of what indigenous cultures might have existed like, or still may. To me, like when I got to the end of the book, I had and this just shows how little research I put into the book and the author and things. But I had the idea of like, wait a minute, is this real? Is this an autobiography? Maybe like a fantasized, like, dressed up sort of way. But I was like, is there some level of truth to this? Which is silly.
No.
For anyone that hasn't read the book, I mean, this isn't going to make sense, but you've tapped into it a bit, so it shows a little bit of like fantastical thinking that I might indulge in at times. But
I think that's a lovely vision.
I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, at the end of the book, it kind of seems like some magical stuff, but for the most part, it doesn't. It's nothing. They're not shooting fireballs out of their hands. Like it's not really fantasy, right? Like it's just it's a community of people living off the land and just learning to be harmonious with each other and their environment. Part of what I love so much about the book and what actually inspired me to read it was the way it was described to me was their relationship to dreams. I'm pretty big into dream study, and I work with my dreams, and I haven't been too focused on the lucidity aspect of it, but practicing lucidity.
The lucid, that's where you kind of like realize you're in it. Okay.
That's been a bit of a spiritual practice for me. So, and I was more deep into that when my partner at the time came across this book and she was talking about it. And I was like, oh, and she was like, yeah, their dreams have such a big value in the society, and a lot of the day, I mean, and again, like relating it to indigenous cultures, imagine society before TV and phones and computers and stuff. Like, what did people spend time, what stories did they engage in? They're telling each other about their dreams, like that would probably be a much bigger aspect of communication and sharing. If we weren't sharing memes and videos and watching movies together, we'd probably be talking about our dreams, and then from there you take it to the next step. Okay, what is the dream trying to communicate? It's subconscious information presenting itself to the conscious mind.
For nothing,
You know what I mean? Like there must be some sort of
Okay.
communication that's trying to be had between
Yeah.
these different levels of self, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's a. Yeah, I that's my view, that it's a dreams are messages sent from the self to the ego
Yes.
to for guidance and metabolizing our the feelings and our lived experience, to metabolize it.
Yeah. I'm with that. Yeah, and in this example of Kinevada, they would basically spend their waking days in service of their nighttime dreams, trying to, it's been years since I've read it, but
Okay.
remind me, was it like, if there was a message, it was like they were trying to honor that,
Yeah,
and trying to somehow like live out their dreams in waking life or serve them in some way.
they understood their dreams as real and their daily lives as what we would consider a dream.
That's what it was. That's what drew me into reading that book, was that phrasing. Thanks for reminding me of
Yeah,
that. That's
sure.
what it was. Yeah. I was like, that's cool. Yeah, I forgot about that aspect of it, because I guess I've been so in my own waking dream here. I've forgotten.
Like all of
I need
us.
to reread that book for real. Yeah, what else about it like stood out to you? Has there been much you've gotten from it?
Oh, the low ego, the sort of no ego. It was the best presentation of what like zero ego would look like in society. I think it's the only depiction I've come across, or that I've come across that paints a picture of what that would look like.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. And
so there's all this mutuality. They feed each other. They never discipline. There's no such thing as discipline. There's only the notion of kind of
Nagdeo and
Nagdeo, of
just
the right
basically
way
their
to
way
do
of
things.
saying, like a flow versus a dissonance.
Right. Yeah. Right. And there's not good and bad and wrong and right.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like flow and not flow.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Or maybe I should say harmony and dissonance. But yeah.
I like flow.
Okay.
Harmony. Harmony. Okay.
Yeah.
I think sin comes, like the etymology of the word sin is something to do with flow rather than wrong or right. And we've made it into these black and white dualistic things. But originally it was actually much more akin to flow.
I've heard it described as sin being like missing the mark.
Yeah.
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 The arrow, you tried, it just didn't hit the bullseye.
Right. Right. But it's not a
like
moralistic.
you're terrible because you
Right,
did that, or
right.
like you're wrong for that.
Right.
Just try again. Type
And that's
thing.
very much the spirit of Kinevata,
Yeah.
the organizing principle for their ethos, their cultural, their ethics.
Yeah.
Was about this is flow and this breaks flow.
Yeah, no, I love that book so much because it just feels very reflective of ways that I was dreaming of how I would want to relate in a society. Even in those terms, this is something that I've talked about a lot on the podcast, and I bring up a lot, the idea of non-duality and Taoism, and just that very idea of like transcending rights and wrongs, or the binary of this or that, yes or no, black and white type of thinking, that binary thinking, like recognizing the unifying aspect
Right.
that
Yeah.
connects
Yeah.
dissonance and harmony.
Okay.
To use different words, like I really don't like using words good and bad or right and wrong, just whether or not this was helpful or hurtful.
Okay.
Harmony or dissonance, and I'm just
Nagdeo or
like,
Dunning.
yeah.
For
And it just puts it in
terms
like,
from the book.
yeah. And it just puts it in like a physical, neutral terminology.
Yeah, right.
Like physics of dissonance and harmony of just frequencies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like, are we interfering constructively or deconstructively? You know what I mean?
I kind of see right and wrong is kind of, whenever we're making something wrong and taking it personally, it's usually because we lack understanding about where whatever wrong is coming from.
Yeah, it's like zoomed in from the reality. It's like just seeing a couple of the aspects of the big picture and hyper focusing on like, well, that doesn't work together. But if you zoom out, it's like, oh, contextually, I could see why those things occurred the way they did.
Yeah, where they're
and that person wasn't trying to hurt me. They just didn't have their own.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
They just didn't have the capacity to see the bigger picture.
Yeah,
and how we could work together in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or maybe they were, but even then, there's history to that.
Oh, sure.
Where did they get that? Where did they get that implicit and procedural memory?
Yeah, I forget that there are also people that are so confused in that way that people do actually try to harm other people, whether it's through manipulation or violence.
Right.
That does happen. Yeah. Right. And again, to have compassion towards those situations, to zoom out enough to see, oh, well, they had such a lack of belonging or love or affection or whatever it was in their life that they're lashing out, or that's the only way that they've been taught to get their needs met is through manipulative or aggressive
they were so abused that they're walking around scared. They're doing all this stuff preemptively or out of their fear or some kind of fear.
Oh, I want to say too, the way that you're describing what stood out to you, like low importance on ego, and also, as we were saying, the high importance of dreams and recognizing dreams as like a deeper reality, and this as a different, more elusive reality, even though it feels so solid in the moment. How 180 that is from our society, right? Like we very much prioritize ego. And put dreams just are not, they're just fodder of the mind. I said this a million times, but I just find it so hilarious and fascinating that we go on these psychedelic adventures every single night in our dreams and in sleep. Even that we have to sleep. It's just a psychotic activity, when we just shut our minds off and like our brains are there's still as much activity in the brain state, like, the body is repairing and doing things like that. I guess that makes sense. But our sleep architecture is custom designed for us every night for what we need. How much REM we're going to have, how many REM cycles we're going to have, whether we get to deep sleep, how much we get there, and the architecture, how those elements are arranged. There tends to be a sort of arc, but within that arc, there's lots of room for shuffling elements around every night for each one of us. That is custom engineered by our CNS, by our central nervous system. Depending on what we need. That dynamic quality of the human body is really, really wild. How adaptive and intelligent our biology vehicles are. And what you were saying about sleep, how there's all that goes, like, there's a lot to sleep. It's kind of coming back into the zeitgeist these days because we've been dealing with burnout for decades probably. But even from my view, I see a lot still about hustle culture, and just the way the capitalist engine works is very much, again, 180 of our priorities. The priority is not restfulness and taking note of our literal dreams, which is just, like you said, information that could literally be therapeutic information that are the deeper level of self has a knowing, has an intelligence, and it's trying to communicate with itself, just as it's doing that through you and me. We're communicating to the self via our separate egos and things like of that nature as well, right? And how, like, anyway, so that's just very much devalued in our culture, and it's just like drive the ego, produce as much as you can, and as little amount of time as possible, maximize your time, minimize sleep, maximize productivity, all that stuff. Anyway, so I just want to note that how 180 that is from our culture is hopefully like potentially radicalizing. Hopefully it's like an awakening of like, yeah, why are we doing things this way? Anyway, another area that they describe a 180 from the way that we relate in our culture is around romance and like family structure.
Oh yeah.
Right? In the Kinevada, there's not the nuclear family structure or even like the marriage institution, right? There's not really that like individual coupling where this is my person. Yeah. And then with my partner, we produce another person. That's my child. There's not this possessiveness around relations. Yeah. Right. Which again, I just love to see an example of this like imagination I've had around relating that just feels so alien to our culture, and to see an example of that in a story, you know, I felt that was really empowering and just really neat to see. And the ways like, because again, like we were talking about with bands or businesses or whatever, teams, families, you know, how important it is to have those communications and expectations and levels of commitment. Like, what are we doing together? What are we building and how? And seeing the way in this story, basically this outsider that comes into this culture, the way he fumbles around trying to figure out how to relate with this very different way of relating. Yeah, that part stood out to me a lot. I like that a lot.
It's kind of like, okay, so if you, for a group, if you need vision and commitment and capacity, it's kind of like in Kinevada, their vision has all been like all the possible individual visions that one might have been superseded by their dreams. So rather than coming up with individualistic visions of I want this or I want that, they orient by their dreams. So they don't have to have individual visions. They're just basically working on themselves. They're wherever the friction in their ego is, that's what's being pointed out to them, and that's what they're working on, and that's the common vision they have. It's not particularized. We're just working on ourselves. Right. And then when they have kids, because they don't have individual visions, they're just every night they're shown where the friction points are in their ego, in their psyche. That dissolves all the needs for a container for having kids. So the kids are just attached to the community, because if you're working on yourself, if everyone everywhere, because this was the totality of their culture, everyone everywhere in their culture is working on themselves every single day. Historically, that's the way they are. Then guess what? Every kid is safe with any other adult. Right. There's none of these friction. So it's this lovely.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it, is reminding me again of this paranoia that a lot of people have around other members of our society, that we don't trust one another. We don't trust each other's individual visions. Yeah. Because if we're not really like serving a unifying mythos, do you know what I mean? We don't really have like a god of this culture in a way that's okay, yeah. Well, we do, and it's money, right? We do. Yeah. That's what we serve is capital and greed in that way, and that breeds these little gremlins of manipulation, of violence, of the things we were describing. You know, of.
It's dark.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dark. I think, those of us like you and I think the people we hang out with, and probably anyone who's going to watch, watching us, are in a, we know what we're surrounded by. It's pretty dark. And we're kind of, we're there's always kind of an awareness that we're kind of trying to do the little oasis thing, not chasing porn, not chasing money. I mean, these things are huge around us. Excessive screen time, all that stuff.
Right, all of it, yeah. And it distracts each and every one of us to a degree, and then that's our self-work. Is how much we amplify our self-worth to be clear and lucid around what do we want to spend our time doing? What do we want to spend our attention on?
Yeah.
And this, it's kind of a slingshot off of this topic, which I just want to say one more phrase about the Kinevada in terms of family or lack of family structure, just the idea of adults being adults, children being children, and like really like an example of that it takes a village to raise humans. I loved that image so much. And to bridge that to what I was going to say, I don't have any streaming platforms. I'm not really ever been super big into movies or watching shows or stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like, in relationships I've been in, like that's been like kind of an anchor, grounding point of like, oh yeah, we'll watch a show together or something like that.
Okay.
But in my alone time, it's not really a hobby. But I'm in a film club of the Very Ape podcast is a podcast I follow, and they have a little online community called Church of Chill. They do a film club through that. They're documentary filmmakers, so it's kind of related to their field and everything. Anyway, I was trying to tune in for this latest film club, and the movie that they picked, Belle de Jour, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a French film from 1967. It was on HBO Max, so I asked my brother to use his login or whatever, our parents' login, let's be real. Anyway, so I had an HBO Max and I watched that movie, and I was logged in, so I was just browsing it later on, and I came across Last of Us, the show. Have you heard of this? Mm-mm. It's a show adaptation from a video game, and it's about basically like a zombie game, which I'm not big into the zombie mythos, again, like the driving narratives in our culture. Like I'm very suspect at times, or I'm just very aware of like what pieces of imagination I'm programming my psyche with. Like not big into watching horror films, or even like the codependency programming that's in a lot of rom-coms or things like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm very wary of what stories I want to put in my mind, which is again why I appreciate and value Kinevada so much, because it felt like a positive imagination, like a positive story to see a potential future or a potential past or potential present through, versus like now I feel like there's a lot of like apocalyptic programming available in the mainstream medias. You know, there's a lot of terrible stories that are being told, a lot of fear programming that's available. And so this show, Last of Us, I watched the first episode.
Last of Us, okay.
And I had actually played the games. I played them a few years ago. And I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed them. Like, they're fun games. You know, you're shooting zombies and stuff, whatever. But it was also like good storytelling. And there's 2 games, and after the first game, honestly, it was like that story kind of sucked. But after the second one, again, to your point of like when we're too zoomed into the particulars, you can be like, this doesn't really make sense. The first game was like, I didn't like that story. Zoomed out when the context of a trilogy and 2 of the parts are out, I was like, actually, that was pretty good storytelling. Like, I like that. I'm more of a fan of that story after playing the 2 games. But even when I was playing them, I was aware, I'm like, man, I'm putting a lot of like negative imagery into my mind. And it's like kind of a believable zombie story because it's based on a virus. It's like a fungal virus that's spreading. Which the way they just depict it, it's like, it's actually somewhat believable. Anyway, so I'm watching this show and it's like,
so you're kind of like, this could happen. Like COVID fucking happened.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I don't know, I'm watching this show and it's like the adrenaline that's coming through my system, I'm like in a visceral reality that I was not in when I was in my actual reality, like when I was in my life. That was a good day. Like, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I'm trying to take care of myself, all these things, you know what I mean? And then I tune into this funnel, this little portal into a whole nother timeline of potential reality, you know what I mean? I don't mean potential as in, one. Yeah, a terrible timeline, a hellish timeline, you know what I mean? Of like, oh wow, overnight things could turn into the worst thing you could imagine. And it was just like,
I think you're right. I mean, I think that's the message that's getting broadcast by the powers that be, the forces that sort of, you know, are into control. To keep us, to just to keep us compliant, keep us quiet.
I think so. To keep our vitality diminished.
Right. To dissipate us, to distract us, to deflect us.
Yeah.
And to justify and to justify the surveillance state and all the things that those forces for control are coming up with.
Right. To justify their addiction to power and greed and having way more resources than one individual or one group of people could ever.
It's insane.
It is insane. Like, if we think about like $1 billion and like dollars, what even is dollars? Who cares? What about all the assets, the companies, the business, the infrastructure that these people have influence over?
Yeah.
It's like trying to think of, I'll take it back to dollars. Thinking of $1 billion, like if we translate that into this metaphor of like a drop of water, we need water to survive, right?
Yeah.
Water is one of our needs.
Yeah.
And we need that resource, right? So like we need like enough drops of water to fill the mug and like have a few of these a day, right?
Right.
Imagine I had the whole ocean. Like that was my possession, is the ocean. Rather than like a mug of water to like get me through the afternoon.
Yeah.
I have so many resources that like I would drown in that resource time and time again if I owned the ocean. It's so insane. It doesn't make sense for an individual or an individual entity, a company or a family or something, to like have influence over something that's so astronomically imbalanced in that way, right? And it's just,
I think it's part of the human learning curve. I have a theory, and I don't know if it's a good, but that what we're going through, that Trump's sort of irrelevant. It's not about his personality, but that he's just an artifact of a disruptive technology. And we've had them before, the steam engine, the Gutenberg Bible, and that this one is more, and this one is social media. And I get this from, the best explanation for me was the documentary, The Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yep.
Basically just an artifact of machine learning coupled with social media. What they discovered is that the best way to capture attention, which is the most precious commodity at this time, is divisive, fear-based, polarizing stuff.
Exactly.
And then we're off to the races. And what's happening, and what that's basically doing is hijacking our nervous systems. Yep. And it's the first technology that's done that so nearly as effectively. And so Trump is just kind of what happens when what Trump represents is what happens when it's just fallout from that disruptive technology.
Absolutely.
And that, like with other disruptive technologies, like we learned to manage pollution a little bit, like after the industrial age, as part of the industrial age. And, and maybe if there are spiritual forces that have guardrails on how much we can harm ourselves, I am not privy to them. So I do not know that there is that there's a safety net. Mm-hmm. I do not know that. I mean, evolutionarily, it makes sense to me that there could be a paradox in evolution such that at a certain stage of intelligence, you destroy yourself, and the world and the ecosystem resets. I don't know, but what's happened in the past is every time there's a disruptive technology, like the Gutenberg Bible, that fractured the Catholic Church. Which, okay, that's just history. It's what happened, and that led to a little more liberation of human spirit and optionality, and whether we will mature out of this or not, I don't know. But I think that's what's happening, is our nervous systems have been hacked, like by what you described earlier as our pleasure circuitry being hijacked.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. That's absolutely what's happening.
And that everything else, the zombie movies, the power is an artifact of that disruptive technology, which implies concentration of wealth and power for starters, until we ever mature to the point where we're not hijacked by that stuff, where we can manage it.
Well, that would require us really stepping into our self-worth and our empowerment to be in our own timeline, our own reality, our own personal matrix, which is how reality works anyway, as far as I can tell. We're all in our own dream, you know what I mean? But who are we serving? It's like me being in my own dream and being lucid, but still working a job I hated or something like that.
Metaphor.
You know, or still, serving someone else's ideas or desires or their needs over mine or something. Why would I do that in a lucid dream, right?
So
I know that this is
dreaming is a metaphor for
awakening,
reality.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not get that before.
Yeah.
I just could not do it, and I'm like, I can't do it. Okay.
That's
pretty cool.
So I want to mention too, like when I brought up the Last of Us thing, that was the other element to that you described there, the way that it hijacks the nervous system, but there's something about that is potentially addictive. There's something about that that's exciting. As much as I was like, I don't want to be feeding my mind with this. I was like, I finished the episode. You know what I mean? Like, I'm probably not going to finish the season because I already know the story. I played the game. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But like, there is like, we get on social media, like we know that it upsets us, but there's something that's still like,
it's hijack our dopamine circuitry, our pleasure
that as well. Yeah.
circuitry. That's how it works. That's the hijack.
Right. But the irony, I guess, that I'm trying to bring to, and maybe it's not. I'm not a scientist or anything like that. But like the idea of like seeing something fearful, but on a nervous system level or some level, like experiencing that as pleasure feels ironic and like counterintuitive. But there's still something that's alluring. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily pleasurable to watch a horror movie. Maybe there is. I don't know. I'm not into these things. But like the idea of like seeing something terrible from the comfort of your home and knowing that you're safe, but you're still like getting this adrenaline high. That's kind of what I'm describing.
I read an essay about that once. I'm not a scientist. I have not deeply studied. I'm not deeply studied on like why horror is attractive either. But what the essay said, and it kind of resonates for me, is that we're talking about this, is that we're watching the horror movie from a safe context. So we have the pleasure of having these intense and scary emotions, but we know we're safe, kind of like getting on a roller coaster.
Right.
And maybe that begs your question, which is why do we find pleasure in that horror? I guess compared to real horror, it's a lot better than that. It's part of human experience. We get to experience this extreme edge of what it can be like to be human, but without having to be in Auschwitz. We can go see the exhibit. We can see the movie.
I think you nailed it with the extreme, the extremity of the experience, and it comes back to the idea of non-duality, that like it's not all about pleasure, because pleasure and pain are two sides of the same coin. It's the intensity of feeling intensely human. You know, like people that get tattoos nonstop or piercings or whatever. It's like it's painful, but there's an aspect of that pain that's like, well, it's not killing you. There's some part of it that we could get attached to that feeling of just feeling an intensity, even if it's intensely negative. But we survive it. There's still, you know, and it also makes me think of
that's where addiction comes in. Like it's one thing to watch it, enjoy it, and then sort of have a life, but it's another thing to need your fix.
And there's something about the whole cycle of the addiction cycle. You know what I mean? It's almost like we're attached to every part of it. Because if it was just about the good bits, you know what I mean? We probably would just be like, oh no, that was a nice night last night of getting high. Like I'm chill. You know what I mean? That was a nice time. I'm glad I had that.
Rather than chasing it.
And it's like, that's the part that maybe we're addicted to, like every step of that, where it's this cycle of the shame that it brings about. And then the idea of needing to escape the shame through this thing, whether it's a drug or an experience or whatever it is.
I think that's usually we've got personally and then culturally. I think works both personally and culturally. It's just a trauma framework. We've just got pain that's buried in our tissues that we don't know or aren't willing to face, to metabolize.
We don't know what to do with it.
Experience, and it's driving different types of avoidance behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And for me, that model works both culturally and individually. And then that's where the chasing comes from, is because it's a reenactment of the pain that's stored in our tissues, but it's symbolic, and it allows us to avoid facing what really happened or what's really buried in our tissues and memories.
Right. Yes. It's like and
as a culture, there's so much that we're not willing to face, and
oh my God,
and that drives any number of compulsions.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Exactly. And to bring it back to this idea of that media as a offensive branch of, almost like an army for this capitalist engine, that media as a branch of that, that its function is to, as you said, hijack our nervous system, to give us this spike of adrenaline or fear, cortisol, or whatever it is, that makes us feel alive, but also not in a productive way, not in an integrative way.
Right.
And
not in a relational way. Not in
it's very fractured.
Not relational, not creative.
Yes.
Right. There's two options for
neither one of those.
What you can do with it, like productively.
Absolutely. And so
nigdeo in flow.
Right.
Creativity and relational.
And recognizing that, like, mainstream media, I hate that phrase because it feels trite or whatever, but it's what I'm describing, the zeitgeist around media, which now includes social media. So it's even bigger than it used to be.
I was just going to say mainstream media, the reason it feels trite is because it used to refer to something that was demarcated.
TV,
it was
which only had three channels,
right?
Whatever.
And now it's it's ubiquitous. It's monolithic.
It's beyond cable of the 200 channels. Now it's an infinite amount of channels. If we have a channel, right? This is going onto a channel.
And it includes social. It's like screens are endless, and they're ubiquitous, and they're infused. They're like rooted, like fungi. They're mycelial.
Yes.
Media screens are now mycelial.
Yes. So there is like a sliver, and maybe it's a huge underground, maybe it's a huge iceberg where most of media is actually positive. But when I say mainstream, I'm really talking about the zeitgeist of like what most people are tuning into are stories of distraction, stories of fracturing our mentality and our connectedness, making us believe that our neighbors are someone to be feared, leading us to believe that people on the other side of the political spectrum or the gender spectrum or whatever the spectrum is, that there's enemies on the other side, or just keeping us distracted from what we actually want to be embodying, that all of that zeitgeist of that mainstream is poisonous, and I'm trying to in my life and through this podcast and as an extension of my life, I'm trying to serve better stories, trying to tell better stories, trying to feel the energy of better stories.
Yeah.
Because even as we dipped into that, talking about reality just now, I felt adrenaline. I felt a certain level of cortisol. I felt a certain level of my vibe shift into that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can do that. I can like have my sword out and like cut through the bullshit and like still, like you said, not avoid reality. Like I'm not trying to like, encourage avoidance, of course, like
are you talking about taking a little break? I mean, you get to watch it, enjoy it for what it is.
I'm talking about like just that we dipped into that where where it felt viscerally less calm,
like zombie stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and not even no, not even just that, because that was the fictional aspect of it, but talking about media and
Trump.
like and capitalist engine and all of these things that like kind of got us by the hooks, and all that stuff. It's bad vibes, but it's reality, so it's worth attending to. And my point is, but with what energy? Like, can we look at these things and not get not lose our vitality to it?
That's the question I'm working on, because that's why I'm here. Because so first I tried psychedelics, and then I got introduced to hippie culture and festivals, and I'm looking at this world of Trump and divisiveness and just insanity. And like fucking insanity, and the kin of Ada inspired, and some of the people I'm meeting through meeting, like you and Sarah and Sid and others, have given me a vision for what's next, because part of the mycelial media that's hacking our nervous system is that we're becoming a post-institutional society, because all the stabilizing force that institutions have provided historically since the beginning of civilization is now being withdrawn, and leading to the kind of, nobody believes in government, nobody believes in it's because nervous system has been hacked by media, and we're all too like wired, like most of us are like too wired to put our and the tempo is sped up so that we don't gain our sense of identity and stability from church, government, medicine.
Yeah.
And so what happens after a post-institutional society, culture? I'm thinking Kinevada type stuff. Little groups, little tribal-ish affiliative groups chosen rather than kind of handed to you by birth.
Yep.
And I see you guys I'm old. I am I'm 64. I see you guys 30s, in your 20s and your 30s, creating these affiliative societies. And I might just be naive, and maybe I'm just opening up to kind of hippie type culture later in life, and I'm romanticizing it. But that's as far as I've gotten right now. I'm really attracted to I kind of position what you guys are about in the way I see you socialize and play together and be together, and party or two I've been here for as the next wave, the future of, or at least part of the future of society is chosen affiliative groups that are based in mutual respect and love, and basically in the direction of Kinevada, in the context, like little oases, conscious oases, in the context of the destruction of everything all around us.
Yeah, no, I'm with that. And what it makes me think of is that the only way for peaceful, smaller communities to be sustainable is if we all agree to not kill each other for being different. You know what I mean? Like, because we can't just go off and start a commune and live our peaceful little life within a country that is becoming increasingly not open to that.
It's much harder.
And is illegalizing that type of thing. Or I don't know, I don't want to say that. But you know what I'm saying? Certainly could.
Right.
And so my point is...
And there's so many problems with that model anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Because we rely on each other and whatever. I mean, but we could also rely just on our piece of the environment as well, as humans once did for most of our history, in fact. But my point is that, like, that level of heaven on earth, you know, whether it be this solar punk vision of, have you heard of this idea? Solar punk is the idea of us marrying technology and using it in harmony with the earth.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So not okay.
In my generation, it was "Small is Beautiful" by E.F. Schumacher.
Okay.
Which dates me if anyone is that old.
I don't know that one either. Yeah.
But that was the seminal little book that came out in the 70s about distributed small scale technology that's renewable and that's renewable and sustainable.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's the idea. Yeah. Sustainable technology, not putting, you know, you can't put Pandora's box back together, right? So technology has bloomed. It's here, you know, and now robotics are coming on to play too. So there's all sorts of things that we can't undo. So the idea is just like bridging those gaps of not having technology being in service of convenience at any cost, greed at any cost, right? Not serving the lowest parts of the human spirit, but serving our ability to bridge these connections, our ability to be brilliant and loving and vital. You know what I mean? All of the best parts of the human spirit. Like, we could use technology to enhance that and to be, as you said, sustainable with the earth. So that's like the solar punk vision. But anyway, my grander point was that I don't even know that I will live to see that come into fruition, but I certainly want to sow those seeds, even if I don't get to eat from the fruit of the trees. You know what I mean? Because that just feels like the only thing that feels worth doing, really.
It's not it shouldn't be a sacrifice. It should be like a creative challenge.
Oh, okay.
Like
which part? What do you
to live this kind of life?
Oh yeah.
It should be like the social richness, the love. That's the payoff.
That's the reward. In and of itself.
Right.
Why do people go to sports games? Why do people go to the bar and, drown themselves in this thing that's not, you know what I mean? Like, we all are looking for the same thing, connection.
Yeah.
We all just want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves that we can feel that we're investing into in a sustainable way.
Yeah. And in terms of like so one thing is it should be rewarding in real time. And that could mean everything's so fucked up now and it can be so complicated and ideally, and things are getting so brutal, like people who are taking on ice, who are going to the demonstrations and fighting, that's not enjoyable. So my model breaks down a little bit. It's a little Pollyanna because that's important work too. In the way that I love being around you guys. Like, when I say you guys, I mean your cohort, 20, 30 something. I just like fucking soak it in when I get to, so that's what I mean by it should be enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, I think there's not going to be an easy answer to technology. We cannot silo. Most of us are not going to be able to silo ourselves. We're going to use that stuff. We're going to be in the world while, like, if my vision, if there's anything to it, and this Oasis model, if there's anything to it, we're going to be in the world while we are doing the Oasis.
Yeah.
So I love ChatGPT. I fucking use it. I use it so much for so many things. I rely on Amazon. So I am, if I've got a top pretty part, I am definitely a lotus, because my roots are down there in the mud. Both the stuff that I work on personally that come up every night in my dreams, because I do a lot of dream work, and my roots in this society that's so violent and brutal. It's become brutal now. Just Amazon and ChatGPT are two huge examples. So I think that moving forward, it's going to be complex, because for most of us, if we want to do this kind of thing, we're still living in the world. And you probably know I'm a little retired, so I don't, I don't have to come up with a paycheck. You guys probably know a ton more about that right now than I do. Just having to come up with the make money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, it has to be, that's the complicated part that I don't have the strategy or answers for. I do feel like in the evolution, put lightly, in the restructuring that needs to happen of our society, there's different roles to play. There's the people that are tearing down the old world, there's the people building the new world, and there's people dreaming of what that new world will be like. And I feel like I'm part of that visionary dreaming part of that. I don't have a whole lot of arsenal energy. I'm not that type of fire that I feel like to me, same. Where my energy goes, I have to protect my energy, because if I get too involved in losing my vitality to the terrible stories that I'm hearing about again, and this is a different thought, but I don't even know what necessarily to believe too. I mean, talk about, I mean, this has always been like a psychedelic, spiritual, what is reality? But now very much with AI, we don't know what we're seeing on these screens is real or not, you know?
Oh.
And we don't know what's being quote unquote allowed for us to get exposure to in these algorithms. You know, it could all be pulling at the strings of our nervous system on purpose, you know, cherry picked information, all this stuff. You just don't know anything that you're not seeing with your own eyes. And even then it's a quantum universe, but that's a different thought as well, you know? Like, my point is that I can't be tuning in through a phone to find out what I should be pissed off about. And even going out into the world and tearing stuff down, that's just not my energy. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done.
Right.
I'm just saying that's not my energy.
I got the same energy.
Yeah.
I'm not a fighter.
Yeah.
I'm too porous. I'm too sensitive.
Yeah.
I'm too kind of fragile in a way.
I'd rather just be beamed
container.
up to the next dream and let these monkeys fight it out. That's just not what I'm not. That's not what my monkey's here to do personally.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I don't want to rally those who have that energy, because there's things that need to be torn down. And then I don't really have the skills for building either. I'm not necessarily going to be the one. I can learn. I'm not saying I can't learn, but like where my natural aptitude is more so in the visionary spot. And that's why I'm having this conversation with you. That's why I'm choosing to record it like a maniac and share it with my little tiny corner of the algorithm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just express the vision.
All right.
Tell better stories.
Okay.
Feel like there's some connective tissue that I'm tapping into and being a part of, rather than just dreaming in my own space or, you know, whatever. And I have these, you know, it's not every beautiful conversation that I have is recorded either, of course. You know what I mean? Like, it's not all just for the podcast, but like, that's one aspect, you know, with the music. Like, I can write a song about how, you know, whatever the vision is, I can write this beautiful song, but like, that's not a very fashionable, like, modality these days. Most people don't have an attention for a full song, let alone deciphering the cryptic lyrics or the poetic lyrics to figure out what the message should be, let alone a whole album, let alone, you know what I'm saying? It's
but poetry can't be allowed to.
Is that it telling us we should end? I'm just joking. I forgot that I had the speakers on. That was the ending of another episode that I'm using the template from another episode, and that was like the ending of it. I didn't realize that I still had the speakers on. Whoops. But anyway, so we're about.
But poetry can't die either.
No, not say that it will or that it should or that, you know what I mean.
You're doing like poetry is always needed.
Agreed.
Like historically, poetry is the oldest form of literature. It's the first.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love music and I love poetry and I love listening to full albums. You can see my record collection here, you know. I love that. I just recognize that in the 2020s, listening to a full album is not a fashionable thing that people do. It's not a trending expenditure of time. People are scrolling on their phones. That's what most people are spending most of their free time doing, is scrolling on phones. You know, so even a podcast, this long form, I mean, we've got an hour and a half recorded right here. That's also not necessarily a fashionable. Yeah, maybe 15 years ago, people were more inclined to listen to an hour and a half of two dudes, you know, vibing. You know, now you got to make a little clip, and hopefully, like, it has a hook, and things change quickly enough to keep the brain. You know, all these things. It's a different game. But my point is just like, you know, the sharing the vision, and it's not for others. It's for me. It's for me feeling like I can have a place to express, and it's really not even the sharing. You know, I do the podcast for this moment right here. I make the music for the moment of me channeling some divine creativity. Like, that's what I like. Sharing it is not really what I like. That's not where I get the fulfillment of joy. And, you know, but I still feel like it's part of the piece of the puzzle, so I do it. You know,
sharing your music,
sharing music and the podcast, all of it. You know, the externalizing of the expression is not the part that I really enjoy. It's the channeling that I enjoy. It's the moment.
That's what I love about, I mean, another ephemeral works real well for me, because I don't do much that's recorded or that's documented. Like, so I go back to how much I enjoy dancing at festivals, and those, if anyone here has seen me, know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally.
But that's completely ephemeral. That doesn't.
Yeah.
But it becomes part of who I am, which I carry with me without stating it as such,
right.
But it still is part of my vibe.
Totally.
So ephemeral things have value.
Absolutely. And, you know, not to be that guy, but zoom all the way out. Everything's ephemeral anyway, right? Our lives are ephemeral, you know, our days are numbered. Like everything that is here that we may document, we may take all the pictures.
Yeah.
They're
right.
Especially if it's a physical thing, that'll disintegrate.
Right.
I guess maybe everything lives forever in the digital cloud. I don't know. No, I mean, if the data center gets unplugged, the hard drive dies. Like, I don't know.
But who's going to watch that? I mean, there's too much.
Right. Again, with the ocean, you know, just drowning in this ocean of resources versus just like, grab your cup, like grab a book, like enjoy some long form, like listen to a full podcast, like listen to a full album, you know. Even at the gym, I had a playlist of just threw a few metal artists that I like to this big playlist, and I was just shuffling at the gym, and like lately I've just been listening to albums, and I'm enjoying that a lot more versus just like this kind of scattered, here's Tool, Led Zeppelin, Mars Volta, or whatever. It's like just put on like a System of a Down album and just like really enjoy this whole expression that the artist put all of this energy into this in one time capsule of that's where they were that half a year or whatever. You know, I like the journey of an album, and I just kind of that as a random example of just that it can be more fulfilling to enjoy a full movie versus like watching, you know, endless videos 5 seconds at a time or whatever, and just like you know, let's like reclaim that sovereignty, like take our agency back. You know, if we're recognizing that media in general, mainstream media has like siphoned our energy and fractured our attention spans as well as our connection to one another, let's take it back. You know what I mean? Like it's not undoable. Like it does take practice, I think, especially for like people in my generation, more so people in Gen A, the 5-year-olds today, and like my brother's generation, Gen Z, you know, early 20s and stuff. That's what the kids call brain rot, you know, this idea that we just can't really even focus for more than a few seconds. Everybody's got ADHD and all this stuff. Like, it's not irreversible. It's just, what do we spend our attention on? Do we just keep doing the things that make it worse? Or do we take time to meditate? Do we take time to do things slow? Do we take time to do the yoga or the workouts? Or do you know what I mean? Get in the flow state physically. Like we can like flip the script and do those things that feel more fulfilling. Yeah. No, I
there's so much because there's every individual has got, so part of this is what's our theory on like individual trajectory. So I'm a big reincarnation guy. And so I figure karma trumps. Oh God, trumps. Oh Lord. Okay.
We were playing euchre the other day, and I don't know if you ever played euchre, but there's a trump is what they call like the suit.
Oh, okay. I played bridge.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
And my mom's in there trying to think of a different word to use.
Right. Okay, I'm in the same position. So it's like in my view, no matter what
you said, karma.
Yeah. No matter what what foolishness people get into, whether they're Hitler or whatever, evolution of the soul plays out over multiple reincarnations for me, over a long period of time. And so some people are going to, at other times, I've been the one, in other lifetimes, I'm sure, and I've done like, you know, I've been into, one can explore that a little bit, you know, not to certainty, but past life regressions and things like that. I've been the one who did stupid stuff, you know, who was denigdeo, you know, sinned, or, you know, is a bad person, whatever. And so I guess I wouldn't, when I zoom out, I'm not exhorting about don't do bad stuff, be the best you can be. I'm more like, whatever choices you make, there's only karma. There's only going to be consequences that you will experience and have umpteen chances to learn and grow from in succeeding lifetimes. So I'm not, when I zoom out, I'm not too worried about the personal choices people make because I figure it'll all come out in the wash. I don't know how that works with what happens if the planet gets trashed for human beings. But I'm not too curious either. I don't figure spiritually. I figure I'm not going to have all the answers.
Right.
But I go that far.
Even to say that the earth itself is ephemeral, that the sun itself is ephemeral. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like just really finding solace and comfort
but not in a
outer
nihilistic
space.
way.
Not in a
nihilistic way. Not in a, well, then nothing matters way.
No.
But in a
nothing matters way. Nothing matters.
Okay.
I feel like it's the difference between like the Buddhist saying that and like the nihilist saying that, like nothing matters or nothing matters.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the idea that emptiness means it's a vast void of potential.
Okay.
It's a beautiful thing.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
As an acceptance.
Right.
Not as a defeat.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But I totally agree with that. Just that all this really is action and reaction and the natural consequences of the energy that we share, but also to recognize that it's not the individual. I didn't start this. I didn't start the fire. You know what I mean? Wasn't the one to roll the little cosmic ball of avalanching karma into existence.
When you said I didn't start the fire, Billy Joel's, oh my God, I love that
That's
music
the reference.
video.
Yeah.
God.
I haven't seen the video, but I can imagine. I'll have to look it up.
Yes.
But, just to recognize that even like, and this goes into a determinist versus free will conversation, and we can save that for another time. But, just the idea that like, even what I do, can I really take ownership of the influences on my life, the influences on my psyche and on my body? Like ultimately, like things are happening of their own accord. Okay. And to trust like the way things flow, and then to trust our ability to add to that flow in harmonious ways when we do have those opportunities.
That makes sense. Yeah. To me.
Reincarnation, I would like to talk to you more about in another conversation because there's a lot there, and I would like to hear more about your experience and stuff.
Oh, cool.
I do want to wrap up because I got to get going here soon. I usually try to keep these about hour and a half because again, attention spans.
That's
and I gotta pee. But there's a little last segment that I like to end with. I just want to ask you if you have any part of the conversation that you want to highlight, particularly if it could be something that leads to an action step, or if there was something that came up that you thought of that you wanted to say but didn't get a chance to say.
I love Kin of Ada. I just am happy that we brought that. I just love that book so much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you finishing it too and getting your final thoughts on that. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah,
it was nice. It was I don't know. It was just I thought it was real. I was really nervous going in, and to me it was very substantive, and I like that. Our conversation.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we haven't had too many one-on-one conversations before today, so it was really just nice to get to talk with you and like share ideas. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more of that in the future for sure.
Same.
Yeah. As far as highlights, I think really the thing that's just like staying out of my brain is the idea of telling better stories.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just like as a rebuttal and as a natural consequence of how much bullshit information is coming to us that is really draining our energy. Like let's tell each other stories. Let's tell ourselves stories, which is to say, let's be in realities that are uplifting. You know what I mean? Let's have those uplifting conversations with ourselves and one another and our loved ones, like as a priority. When we go out and see our families and friends or whatever, like, what are we discussing? Are we discussing like, oh yeah, did you see the new worst thing that could have happened to the XYZ? Or are we telling the story of like, yeah, this is what I'm excited about, and like, whatever. And also, as you said, like the idea of, and you put it in terms that maybe it's romanticizing this group of friends and just the hippie culture in general, the idea of the younger generations like carrying the torch and stuff. That's on us to not just have good times, but to band together. Come back to the beginning of the conversation. What are we doing with our bands, our teams, our friends, our loved ones? Like really like organizing
Okay.
and clarifying what it is that we're creating together. You know, the new
Okay.
world's not just going to build itself.
Okay.
Like, you know, creating some organization and some clarity around those connections
Okay.
is really vital. And I think, yeah, the time is now.
All right.
Cool. Sweet. Thank you so much, Alan. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Till
Thanks
next
for having
time.
me, Sean.
Share your story, let it free to be the medicine we both need.